Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to Dr. Helena and to all my beloved friends. So as for today, me and AMANI have been given trust to present to you guys about the third question for today's tutorial, which is the Brexit is the beginning of the end of the European Union. So as from the question, we can analyze and simplify it to be the what are the consequences and impact of Brexit towards the European Union itself. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. So this is the outline of today's presentation. We're going to briefly discuss for the introduction part. I'm going to briefly discuss about the history of the European Union and the history of the Brexit. What the European Union? What is the Brexit? How the European Union originated, or which are the founding country itself, and when the Brexit happened, why it did happen, and which are the party that vote for the Brexit to happen. And the second part of the presentation is going to be the discussion part, which I'm going to be agree with the question, and Amani are going to disagree with the question, which I'm going to agree that Brexit are going to be a negative impact for the European Union, which Brexit are going to be the starting point of the collapsing of the regional organization itself, while Amani are going to disagree with the question, which she going to present to you guys about the positive impact of the Brexit towards the EU, because she going to briefly discuss about how the EU are going to gain opportunity and gain positive impact instead of the UK are going to leave the EU 11 months after the transition period. And for the last part of today's presentation, we're going to conclude and make our stand. So, so the EU does not start with the name of European Union at first. It has been started since 1945 with the European and Coal and Community Organization, where there are 6 founding members, which is the Belgium, the France, the Germany, the Italy, Luxembourg, and Netherlands. So these 6 founding or organ countries has been cooperate with one another to in coal and in coal as the main natural resources at that time. The reason of why these 6 countries cooperate for the coal resources is because during that time that is the period of war. So if these 6 countries can be able to control these coal natural resources, means they can prevent war, rather than they focus more on politics sides. So they take initiative to focus on the economic side. So if they can control these coal resources, which means they can control the country action and behavior for not going to war. And for and European Union also will be based by the Treaty of Rome in 1957, where it has been born. It will brought out the European Economic Community, we call it EEC. We replaced the ECSC in the first place, or we known as this European Community. So this Treaty of Rome has been signed in 25th of March in 1957, while it has come into force for about 1 year after that in the 1st January of 1958. So this Treaty of Rome has been proposed the creation of single market for goods, the labor, services, and capital among state members. So these 6 countries, as the founding members, has been binded by the Treaty of Rome in 1957 to create a single market among its members. However, in the EU history itself, in 1950s, the Cold War has happened between the Soviet Union and the US, between the East and the West sides, which is the East has been supported by Soviet Union or communism part, and the US and the West part is being supported by US, which is democracy side. So in 1970s, it is the starting point of enlargement of the EU, where Denmark, Ireland, and the United Kingdom has started to join the EU, because during this time, it is the Cold War period where most of the states in this world need to choose whether they are on the democracy or communism side. So which side are they going to support? So for this country, they decide want to support the west side, which is led by the US, compared to the east side, which is led by the Soviet Union. And in 1981, the rising trend has continued, where Greece officially joining the EU and become the 10th member of the EU, following by the Spain and Portugal after 5 years later. And after 5 years later, there are an act established in 1986, which we known as Single European Act. And this Single European Act is initiative of the of the 6 years program, which will assign to sorting out the problems with the free flow of trade across European borders to create the single market in the Europe. For single and common market is kind of different, because in common market, if there are any mutual interest of state that need to be agreed, then state can be bind. But single market is where state given their sovereignty to be bind by the agreement stated in the treaty itself. And during this period, this is the fall of the Berlin Wall, where the Berlin Wall divided the European map into two, the east and the west of Germany. And this is the starting point where has become the open border between the east and the west after 28 years of Cold War. Since the and it's been brought the reunification of Germany in 1990. So so this is the end of the Cold War, where in 1990 until 1999, where the Soviet Union has fallen in 26 December of 1991 officially, and it has become the success point, or the great achievement of the Single European Act that been signed in 1986, where in 1993 the Single Market Act has been completed, where they has established a new four freedoms among its state members, which is the movement of goods, services, people, and money itself. And it is bound about the new treaties, the Maastricht Treaty on the European Union in 1993, the Treaty of Amsterdam in 1999, where the people of EU realized on the importance of protecting environment, and also regarding the security and defense matters after the Cold War, where this organization has been free, a lot free to decide where are they going to be and what are they going to be after the Cold War. And in 1995, the Austria, Finland, and Sweden joined the EU, which led to the increasing number of the European itself. And in 1995 also, there's a small territory in Luxembourg, we'll call it Shenzhen, has been initiate action of allowing people to travel without passport check at the borders of the Luxembourg. And this action has been supported by the young student in that studied overseas or in foreign countries in the eurozone, with uh, and this action has been supported due to the enhance in technology such as the mobile phones and the internet itself, where the young student has been easy to communicate with each other. So this is EU from the year of 2000 until now. So this is EU from the year of 2000 until now, where the euro currency started to take place in 2003. And this uh, this country that adopted the euro currency, we call it as eurozone. And however, in there are big incident happen in the international system. We call it as the 9/11 incident, where the terrorism violence action against the US. The four hijacking plane start to crash the four major building in the US itself, and it is starting point for the war on terror. And EU start to work closely to with each other to fight this crime, this universal crime, and other crime in the world. So the division of political between the S and East since the Cold War has been improved when there are more than 10 countries join the EU since the 2004, followed by the Bulgaria and Romania in 2007, and the Treaty of Lisbon that been ratified by all EU members came into force in 2000 to provide state members with the modern institution and improve efficiency of working method since the global economic crisis in September 2008. So this Treaty of Lisbon has been provided as a guideline of initiative of the EU to provide any infrastructure or any capital for its state members to work on to improve their economic environment since the 2008 economic crisis. And the EU also has established the banking union to ensure the safer and reliable bank for state members. If we want to rely at the UN for us to rise after the economic crisis in 2008, it's quite broad because UN cannot cover all the state in the world. Therefore, EU has been established a new bank to ensure that that the member of the European Union itself can refer to EU bank to be more specific and be more systematic in their management. And EU also focus on other elements like climate change, terrorism, security, and refugees since the era of 2000. So this this is just a fun fact where I want to share a bit facts about the European Union. So on the table, as you can see, I've been arranged in chronological order since since they originated or founding members of the EU in 1958, then following by Denmark, Ireland, and UK. And overall of it, we have 28 members of the European Union. But after the Brexit happened, it has only left like 27 members of the European Union that still stay in the EU, and maybe it has the potential of leaving the EU in the future, and maybe there are a lot of other states that want to join EU. We can't deny the facts of it. And in EU, not all state members using the euro currency, and until now, officially there are about 19 countries that using the euro currency, and these countries been known as the eurozone. And all EU members are part of the economic and monetary union. However, only 19 countries are adopted to using this euro currency. Countries such as like Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Sweden are the countries that did not yet adopted euro currency, which is if you, if in European Union, if you want to adopt the euro currency, it have to be the state council itself to be bound by the euro currency. And if you are not, we call it, you're not qualified enough to manage the euro currency, you can't use the euro currency, which like you need to be specific and systematic in handling your national debt and modulating your inflation before using the euro currency. So this is the history of the Brexit itself. So Brexit is the we can define easily defined as the British exit or the United Kingdom leaving the EU. United Kingdom consists of few countries such as like the England, Scotland, the Wales, and Northern Ireland. So, however, even though that UK stopped being EU member in 2020, it has been started since the June 2016 through the public vote referendum, where 17.4 million people opted to leave the EU. and if you can see the overall percentage of it, the 52% of the people decide to leave the EU, while 48% of it decide to remain in the EU. And the total votes of the Brexit referendum equal to about approximately 33 million, while the registered voters is 46 million, where only 85% of the voters exercise their rights. And as you can see, there are remain side and leave side. The remain side is led by the David Cameron, the Prime Minister in United Kingdom. So he argued that if UK are going to leave the EU, they are going to lose a lot of opportunity, especially in economic aspect, and they're going to be like have the financial issue where the goods product going to increase in price, and they also the UK citizens in the European Union need to apply visa to work overseas. And while the left side has been led by uh, Boris Johnson, where his emphasis on the European skepticism, which is the refugees issues and other issues, because he said that in the Europe there are a lot of refugees issues because of the EU itself. So countries such as the UK cannot exercise their own sovereignty and rights to protect their own border due to the European law, where the EU law has prevent the United Kingdom from 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 any from stopping any my from stopping any foreigners to enter into its country itself. Kepala So this is the history of the Brexit itself. So Brexit is the So this is the second part of the presentation in this discussion part. So I'm going to present about the significance of Britain to EU that made it fatal with Brexit, and AMANI are going to present about the positive impact for the EU with Brexit. Even though if UK exit from the EU, EU still can survive in the international system. So as for today, I've already divided my part into four sections, which is the UK position in the EU, the finance and economy of UK in the EU, the EU roles in stabilizing power in the EU, and also the Brexit, the theoretical perspective for the Brexit incident. So as you can see, UK has involved actively or highly involved in the EU politics, where UK always emphasize on the Euroscepticism, where this EU this issue is not relevant, then does not has the ability to protect its own state members. And you can see the UK Independence Party, the UKIP, have 24 24 chairs in the European Parliament. Uh, this UKIP has support to complete withdrawal from the EU due to excessive costs, lack of democracy, and immigration problems in the EU itself. So, as you want to be a part of EU, you need to contribute your national budget to the EU itself, and uh, due to the give up of sovereignty towards the EU, you have lack of democracy to practice in your state, because everything is determined by the EU and not by your national identity, not by your state itself, not by your own local government. Everything has been decided by the European Union. And of course, the immigration problem, where the people can easily cross your state boundary without any passport, and even in UK, the foreign workers are not going to have any working visa, which obviously it is like saving budget for them, but not for the government, because the government need to spend more to address this issue. And this UKIP emphasized to replace EU with a free trade area with the political union itself, which they emphasize on the low politic relations, like what liberal institutionalism argued about, because the EU has a vast broad cooperation between its state member, but this UKIP has argued that why not we cooperate, but not in political aspect. We just uh, we just cooperate in term of economy aspect. So the second one, the UK position in EU Parliament is through the Green Party, where this party argued that EU is not actually concerned about the ecological priorities. Ecological priorities means the important attributes across region, so such as the manager or the scholar need to identify which are the critical sectors that need to be prioritized, rather than you prioritize all the area. Why not you prioritize on certain area and to be considered, such as the refugees or immigrant issues. If these immigrant issues cannot be addressed by the EU, then why EU still stand for? What's the point of EU still stand for? The third one is the Scottish National Party. This is the left-leaning nationalist party that fight for Scotland. So this has opposed the EU common fisheries policy, because the EU has uh, in this from this party itself, they've been viewed that EU has been robbed their rights, their fishing right in their own territorial water. And this has also been supported by Democratic Unionist Party (DUP) that fight for the same right, which is the fishing right, that they need that the EU should be return and give the control of fishing rights at the local level and not by the EU itself, because it is if we refer to the international law, the territory in or territory water need to be uh, only state can exercise its rights, like fishing right and so on, in their own territorial water, compared to higher authority above the state. So in these cases, EU has the power to determine what kind of sovereignty that they have, compared to state determine their own sovereignty itself. So as So the fourth one is the Conservative Party, which is consists of 19 chairs in the EU Parliament. So initially, this party does not support the Brexit, but as you can see, this party has their own argument when they oppose the Lisbon Treaty and campaign the and campaigning to fight the Lisbon Treaty. And this party also opposed the Eurozone, which country that using the euro currency, and also opposed the radical reform of the Common Agricultural Policy, because in the end this CAP has been quite limited, where the reform is just reform on to be formal, but not in term of exercise the action for the agricultural policy. And this party also fight for in national control over social employment legislation. And as we can see, UK cannot prevent the foreigners from entering their own border because of the EU law. So this party fight like, why not UK exercise their own right to prevent those foreigners to enter into UK itself. And they also fight for balance of competence, where power lies itself. So if there are any situation happen, why not we consider who's going to be responsible based on the situation itself and not by the formal paper. The fifth one is the Labour Party, which consists of 20 chair of the European Parliament. So it has this uncertain position of UK in Euro, where in 2007 the Labour Prime Minister, the Gordon Brown, insists that UK are not going to join the eurozone, so they're going to continue use the pound sterling itself compared to using the euro. Because once you're using the euro, you need to share your info or any any financial statement to the eurozone. And in 2005, the Thornbury gave up about 20% of UK's EU budget, which is the UK's budget that need to contribute to the EU, and for exchange of fundamental reform of CAP. However, the reformation of CAP, just like the Conservative Party, has been kind of like contradict, because they are hoping for something else. They're hoping for the agricultural rights need to be determined by the state itself and not by the EU. But what happened is EU itself has been controlled over the agricultural rights among the EU state members. And the last one is Liberal Democrats. These Democrats has argued that EU is useful at the global level, the by to address the cross-border issue and environmental issue. However, EU is not effective as it is going as it has supposed to be, because EU only act as a medium or a stage where this EU state member want to voice out their rights at the international level, at the global level. However, EU are not really effective, and according to this party, EU shall not take action where the local issues take place in terms of immigrant and so on. So in terms of finance or economic element, why UK is so significant in the EU? Because with Brexit to happen, the unemployment rate I expect to be higher than it was to be, and the higher growth figures is expected, of course, in terms of money itself, because EU doesn't need to be binded by the UK anymore, because UK has been managed the EU in the backstage since the financial crisis of 2008. However, if the UK are going to leave the EU in this transition period of 11 months, so it is expected to be the higher growth of figures. However, the joblessness is higher due to UK policy to employ workers from the Europe compared to its own citizens because of free visa in the past. And the UK is the second largest economic power in the EU after Germany. So EU are going to lose a lot of capital, a lot of money injection or contribution in the future itself. And if we are to look at the 2016 of the EU GDP, the EU are going to lose approximately of 12% from its origin budget compared to when UK is still part of EU. So with UK are going to stop being part of EU member, so EU are going to likely to lose about 30% of its population, which largely contribute by France and Germany, that been contribute higher population than UK for the European zone itself. And we can see that under EU law, the UK cannot prevent their citizen of other EU member from coming and live in UK. So with according to EU law, UK cannot prevent this member from coming, which UK has been carried out a lot of immigrant issues. And if UK are going to leave the EU soon after the transition period over, the issues are going to be decreased, because the issue is going to carried out by the EU itself and not by the UK, because UK has a lot of job opportunity, where this job opportunity are going to be filled by by the United Kingdom citizen itself and not by the foreign workers anymore. And if you can see in the positive side itself, UK provide the most of the job opportunity. UK provide most of the Europe job opportunity compared to other country. So if UK are going to pull out anytime in this transition period, EU are going to have a problem to to be responsible for this higher number of joblessness in the EU. And in 2018, as you can see, UK contributed approximately of 13.2 billion pounds sterling, and in return they are going to receive the 4.3 billion from public sector from the EU itself. So compared to what are they going to contribute, they receive less. So section of this my part is the stabilizing power. So as you can see, since the World War One and World War Two, the presence of the UK in Europe were to stabilize between the two competing powers at that time, the Germany and France. So France saw Germany as a threat due to its high potential military strength and economic power, where France aggressively want Germany to be punished by paying huge amount of money because of World War One and World War Two itself. However, UK are there. UK seem in the long term, in all long period consequences, where UK need Germany to have peace to ensure that France did not revolt or initiate any illegal action, just like what happened during the Napoleon Bonaparte era, where the France Revolution. And this UK also saw that France can counterpart Germany if there are going to be any war, because these two competing power are going to help revenge against each other. So UK is there to maintain peace in the European Union. Countries like Spain and Portugal, and even Netherlands, can even fight against these two competing power, because they have limitation in what they are in military strength. So UK are there because they have like great maritime power during that time. And of course, if UK are going to leave the EU anytime in this transition period, maybe there are going to be a conflict between these two power. If there are no competing power in the military terms, there will be the competing power in the economic, because these three power has been a counterbalance against each other, the France, Germany, and also the United Kingdom. And if United Kingdom going to pull out anytime soon, so the Germany and France are not going to counterbalance each other, they're going to compete with each other. Section of my discussion is that I'm going to look at the theoretical perspective, because of due to the Brexit action. So since the European Union is totally different from any other regional organization in the world, not even UN, because EU is like the authority, the presence of authority above, higher than state at the European region. And the UN, although the UN is there, but UN is the can we can easily define UN is the world is still anarchy, with the absence of authority above the state. UN are there, but they are not going to advise, they are going to control what state are going to be, how the state going to behave, and what kind of action the state going to initiate. But EU, they are the central power of the European zone itself, where this EU have the ability and have the capability, also the capacity to control what the state members are going to do, how the state member are going to behave. So if you look at the theoretical perspective in terms of nationalism, so the idea of state sovereignty is totally sensitive due to the EU members need to give up their sovereignty in order to be part of the European Union itself. However, if they are going to give up their sovereignty, the EU control their state itself, which lead to the borderless country, borderless world in the EU. And this has led to raise of issues such as the refugees, immigrant, illegal cross-border issue that happen in the EU itself. And UK see this as a threat because EU did legalize this action, because EU have the rights to to enforce its law against the exchange. However, due to EU law that legalize the cross-border and even the any EU citizens to go to one and another country, so it has somehow become the threat for the UK itself, and it has led to the rise of Euroscepticism that amplify the idea of nationalism among the EU state members. Of So, according to neoclassical realism, UK has its own military power. Back in the past, they are great in maritime power compared to other EU state members, where it is the power that reshape EU basically based on military capabilities well and military power. And when EU lost UK with Brexit to happen, EU has lost one of its main component, and to counter any universal crime that going to happen in the European Union itself, because UK has the most expert capability compared to other EU members in counter any crime or terrorism that happen in the European Union itself. And the last part of my presentation is going to be the constructivism. It's about how identities are formed, the role in foreign policy making of the European Union itself. So you're going to lose uh, their main gate to the world, which is the United Kingdom, and the UK also, as the vice versa, are going to lose the EU benefit that that made them sustain in the global map. And the self-image brought by the Britain, where they want to be great instead of just Britain, let Brexit to happen, because Britain is just going to be Britain when they are part of the European Union members, where they give up their sovereignty to the EU to have other capabilities. But once they pull out and once they end of severe their ties with the European Union, they're going to be great again.
So the next slide is about the positive impact for the European Union (EU) with Brexit. There are total 5 positive impact, which is sovereignty, where we will look at how EU act as an influence actor and the balance of power after Brexit. Security and military, where EU is independent on their own security and military aspect. Policy changes, where certain policy have changed after the withdrawal of Brexit and how it gave positive impact. And the last impact is on immigrant, which will look at how UK mostly affected and EU on the positive side will remain stable with the change. The first point is sovereignty. After Brexit, EU act as an actor for influence and balance of power, meaning that EU in the world view is seen as an influencing actor by the international system and as the balancer of power, in which EU itself act as a balancing power for the European countries in terms of politics, economic, social and cultural aspect. With the withdrawal of Brexit, it has caused EU lost an important allies or state which hold most influence in the Europe, but that was not the end of EU, because there were other member of states that are equally important as UK, such as Germany, Italy, France and Spain, and these countries were as much equally influential and powerful in the European Union after Brexit. Therefore, if UK was out from EU can be sovereign and maintain power with other influential member of states in EU. For example, France and Italy has shown that they were both very influential when they invoked towards European project. Other than that, France and West Germany also was one of the founder of EEC, which is the European Economic Community. This shows that how they are willing to contribute to EU to ensure EU remain powerful and influence. Without UK, it also helped EU to stabilize their influence and also sovereignty and also balance of power, such as in terms of trade, multilateral relation and also economic, with the remaining EU influential member states after Brexit. For example, there are a few member of states which are very supportive to EU, such as Poland, Hungary and Kazakh Republic. Next, if EU membership is EU membership fees and budget. EU members are required to pay the membership fees and budget. After Brexit, they have been shortage of budget because of Brexit. But even though Brexit happened, EU can still stabilize their financial stability because they still have the remaining powerful member of states such as Germany, France, Italy, for instance, and they will continue to provide emergency assistance from the remaining member states for their development. Membership fees from other remaining member of states will also act as supporting role in covering various sectors such as agriculture, socio-economic development and competitiveness programs. Moreover, EU also enhance its role in areas such as transport, space, health, education, culture, consumer protection, environment, research, justice, cooperation and foreign policy. The next point is security and military aspect. After Brexit, border that has always been an issue of terrorism, for example, can be monitored closely by EU because there is no more open border, which means there is no free movement of UK citizens to EU because to EU states. This can ensure more secure border between UK and EU borders, and it allow for EU enforcement to allow check and control the people movement across the border easily. Other than that, is defense. Brexit withdrawal from EU have created a more independent military capability for EU because they do not need to be dependent on UK like before this. This could also allow EU to express their desire for continued participation as a third country in common security and defense policy (CSDP) operation, and to consider capabilities development and defense industrial cooperation through permanent structured cooperation and the European Defence Funds. Furthermore, Germany also acts as the key figures in defense, such as EU Commission President-elect Ursula von der Leyen that has been looking for to further the EU defense project. Cooperation and participation in defense and security matters after Brexit, which has led to UK loses their right in decision makings, veto rights over EU defense policy, and their influence will also be restricted, especially in international organizations of EU itself, such as NATO, diplomatic channels, and also bilateral relationship with EU member states. Next is economy. After Brexit, economy in EU has been in chaos because Brexit have caused EU to lose their second biggest economic partner, which is the second largest contributor to EU budget, which is UK. As you can see on the graph, UK was the second largest contributor to EU after Brexit, and Germany can still contribute to EU economy because right after UK is Germany. But even though UK has left the EU, UK also lose their immediate and longer term effect on the economy at least part of the EU 27, in which it reduced the UK real per capita income in the medium and long term effect. And also the Brexit referendum itself damaged their own economy with leaving the EU. In terms of trade, EU can be dependent as a single market in which exists the creation of non-tariff barrier between members of EU with no restriction tariff between EU countries, which means that members of EU were free to apply trade with EU countries without being charged on the tariff between the EU countries. Other than that, after Brexit, UK economy will also mostly affected and loses the mostly many trade partners, because before this, UK trade partners in the term of industry of car makers, for example, food industry, mostly were from EU. This includes service such as financial service were also restricted when UK were out from EU, because most of the export and import, about 50% go to EU countries, go in and out to EU countries, while EU economic and trade market remain stable because they still have the remaining EU members to support and maintain their economic investment and also currency, while UK mostly loses their economic partnership, investment and currency value after they withdraw from EU. In positive sides, after Brexit, EU economy have been growing faster than UK. As shown on graph 1, you can see that EU economic have been increased without UK. This is because EU has a larger manufacturing base and a stronger export performance than the UK. In 2019, the UK export of goods and service are expected to grow by 3.1%, below the 4.1% rate forecast for the EU 27. And on the second graph, we can see that the household in the rest of EU spend less as a proportion of what they can earn than the UK, giving the EU 27 a higher average saving rate. The gap has increased in the past 2 years since UK household spending has increased at the time of reducing. And on the third graph, the UK used to compare well with the EU average but no longer after Brexit. In 2001, UK public debt stood at 35% of the GDP compared with 60% for the 28 countries that today from the EU, with overall 30 countries joined the bloc in 2004, 2007 and 2013. Britain's fiscal deficit has become much bigger since the financial crisis, pushing up UK public debt and marginally increased the EU average for debt as a proportion of GDP. This shows that economy of EU is doing well without UK. The next point is policy change. Before Brexit, there were a few policies that were beneficial for both EU and UK, but after Brexit, the policies such as Common Agriculture Policy (CAP), Common Fishery Policy (CFP) and have changed. Common Agriculture Policy (CAP), who used to be the policy in supporting farmers in EU, have changed to UK-owned agriculture policy, and CFP, which used to be policy regarding fishery zone that allow EU towards UK territorial waters, and London Fishery Convention has also changed. But EU have taken action in prepared toward policy changing after Brexit, such as European Parliament. For example, member parties of the Alliance of Conservative and Reformist Group (ECR) may realign in the absence of UK Conservative Party. This shows that EU is independent and prepared with the changes. Other than that, the effect of Brexit on EU as an international role will be less pronounced, and other contemporary development including shifting geopolitical configuration and also the rise of populism. The last point is immigrant. Under EU law, Britain could not prevent a citizen of another member state from coming to live in the UK. However, UK itself want to employ this huge number of foreign workers due to the free visa, low wages and other, because it benefit UK economy more. The effect Brexit for having a large number of migration where they benefit from the equivalent right to live and also to work anywhere else in the bloc. But after Brexit, immigrants were affected from UK in EU and also EU in UK. Even though there have been issues, EU managed to seal a deal with UK where EU nationality that were living in UK will be granted some form of resident permit and would retain most of their current right after Brexit. This also concern on legal status of UK citizen living in EU is being concerned. Those with EU nationals currently living in the UK and UK nationals that living in the EU countries do not have an automatic right to permanent settlement, and that their final legal status will depend on the outcome of negotiation between the UK and the rest of EU, but they do have a permit to live there. This shows that EU is capable on handling or overcoming immigrant issue after Brexit. Other than that, the change in immigrant policy also ended the EU freedom of movement. It introduced the admission requirement for EU nationals. The requirement for work visas would be particularly significant, and about 73% of EU nationals coming to the UK in 2015 reported doing so for work. Brexit will also produce major negative economic consequences such as job opportunities for the UK when the immigrant policy change. Other than that, lower level of immigration and higher levels of immigration could decrease public pressure for strong limitation on the free movement of workers from EU. In conclusion, Brexit decision to withdraw from European Union EU have both its own negative and positive impact on EU itself. Brexit withdrawal from EU were seen as much more negative rather than positive because it causes political, economical instability, challenges of European firms, long-term economic crisis, competition with low wages countries, and also disruption in existing relation in EU itself. Thus, Brexit withdrawal from EU is seen as negative and a failure towards the entire European countries because it creates instability in the aspect of politics, economics and also social.